Hey everyone, welcome back to Askamy. I have a question from Natasha. Natasha says, I've loved watching your videos and I saw you recently had a podcast with Sari Taylor, about having no control. I find this so fascinating and was wondering if you could go deeper into what it means to have no control, especially regarding anxiety disorders and really big feelings. I love the perspective of being totally free, and I do see it that way. I just wanted more of your thoughts on this. So the podcast that Natasha is referring to is 313, and it's the recording of a call that I did with Sari's group, which was great. And yeah, we really looked at sort of, it was really kind of more focused around this idea that we kind of see we don't have control over some things, but then thought comes in and just really wants control somewhere. So it's like, oh, I don't have control over, what thoughts arise or what feelings arise, but I do have some control over what I do with them or how I react to them. And that just doesn't make sense. And just look for yourself. I mean, just really, really take a logical, objective, as much as possible, kind of look at that. It just doesn't make sense that we don't have any control over what arises, but we do have control in some places, and then we're not really sure where we have control and where we don't, but we're sure we must have control somewhere. And even where we think we have control, in this example, usually people will say it's over my reaction. Well, that's pretty clear to see that we don't actually have control over our reactions, because if you did, you would just be not reacting to anything, or you'd be, having the kind of reaction you want to have always. And that's clearly not the case for anyone. For no one is that the case. So anyway, that's the episode if you want to kind of see more about that. But so Natasha's just asking about, just saying she wants to hear more about this. And Natasha, one thing I would say is definitely check out my podcast. I talk about this a ton there, also in my community are probably the two places I feel like I'm talking about it all the time. So those would be two good places to hear a lot more. So she says, go deeper into what it means to have no control, especially regarding anxiety disorders and really big feelings. So clearly, there's no control over, I mean, when I say clearly, it's clear to me. But when I say that, I'm saying that for everyone. Look for yourself. So I'll just say how it looks, but I'll keep reminding, doesn't matter what I think. This is not theoretical. It will do almost nothing for us. I mean, we all know, we've all heard like, oh, all is well. Okay, if that's all it took, then fine. That's not all it takes. We have to know that. We have to realize that. And that only happens from looking, really actually looking at our own experience ourselves, not listening to what someone else says about it. So I'm guessing you look and you see that you can kind of see how there's no control over what you're calling anxiety disorders and really big feelings. They come and they go, and they do that in their own way, on their own timing. There's no real way to control. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh yeah, I can kind of control them, like I can do these things when I feel anxiety arising, and it can kind of change it or stop it sooner or whatever, fine, keep looking at the boundaries of that. Keep looking at it. Just keep watching that. If you feel like you have control, exercise your control. Stop it sooner. Prevent it at all if you can. Like, stop it immediately. Watch the boundaries of your control, and then get curious about what this is that you're calling control. I mean, how do you know that what you're doing is making things happen? And again, unless it's doing that all the time, why is it not doing that all the time? How come sometimes you can go take some deep breaths and anxiety just fades away, and other times it doesn't? Like that, this is the way to think about this with actual logic, because the way we are conditioned to think about this is to just see more about what we've already been told. And what we've been told is you're a separate entity and you have free will and control over your life. And you have a say in how you respond to what shows up. So That's all the conditioning, and then we just see life through that lens, and we start seeing, oh yeah, I do have this and I do have that. But when we really look at it, and when we look at it from a different lens, like perhaps there is no you with control, then you get to see a very, very different picture of the exact same thing, exact same life playing out the way it always has. But when you take that helmet off, take those blinders off of all the conditioning, and you kind of try it from different angles, a lot of different stuff shows up. So look at it for yourself. Look at the boundaries. Look at where you have control and where you don't, and when you do and when you don't. And when it looks like you do, really be curious about that. How are you exerting that control? What are you doing? And again, why didn't it work a minute ago? Or, so you can look at that. The big question in this, though, really, is who are you? Who is this me or you that we're talking about having control or not having control? Because that's ultimately what this comes down to. I'm not saying there's a Natasha out there who is this separate entity kind of living in life separate from everything else, and she has absolutely no control. That's when this feels threatening. That's what's going on, is we feel like I'm a me, and I'm in the world, and the world is happening to me, and I have no control. Of course that feels horrible. That's not really what this is about. What we're really looking at before the control question, before the am I in charge and can I do things question, is who are you? Who is this me, you, I that we're even talking about? Is there a Natasha separate from life that has the ability to exert control on some other separate thing in life, namely your anxiety disorder, right? Like, really look, like where is the Natasha? Can your hands exert control over anxiety? No. Can your hands exert control over anything? I don't know. You look. Is it in your head? Is Natasha in the head? Is Natasha in the torso? Is Natasha the story of a life with a past and a future? Where does that live? Where is that right now? Right now, where is that Natasha? So each of us, before really we get into this whole control conversation, we need to have some sense of like, who is there even to have control? And that's what really, I think, starts to clear it up, because that's a much more fundamental question. When it comes to anxiety, and again, there's a lot on that. I did not just cover that by any stretch, but all of my stuff talks about that lately. So when it comes to anxiety, and you know, it sounds like you've had some experience with anxiety and you say really big feelings. Something in this is very curious. Who's the one experiencing the anxiety? Who's the one experiencing who's the experiencer of these really big feelings? That's what I want you to find. You can say, oh, it's me. Okay. Who, where is that you? Where do you live? Do you live in this body somewhere? Where? What about when there's no awareness of this body? Then where are you? Then what are you? Again, it's a bigger exploration than we can do in a few minutes here, but it's very worth doing. Because when it feels like I am me and anxiety is happening to me, of course we're scrambling for control. Of course that feels horrible. Of course we feel like a victim. We feel vulnerable and at risk. But again, look at this, where is the experiencer of all of this? What if you were to really look and say, I don't know. Is there even one here experiencing anxiety? Certainly there's feeling happening, there's sensation, there's energy, there's maybe a mind calling it anxiety, fine. There's a mind adding in, I'm having anxiety. Okay, now it's getting heavier. You see that? The sensations and the energy themselves are just whatever they are. The mind saying, this is an anxiety disorder, now it's heavier. The mind saying, it's your anxiety disorder, this is happening to you, now it's extremely heavy. And just prove it. If your mind is going to say all this stuff all the time, make it prove it. Find it. What does that even mean? I am experiencing anxiety. And I know that could seem like a really weird question because we have, however old you are, that many years of being conditioned to think of yourself as a person to whom stuff happens. But it's a bigger exploration, and it blows everything up. It's very hard, if not impossible, to feel like you have a anxiety disorder if you don't even know for sure what this me that would have it even is, So that really kind of, again, that's kind of even behind the control and the free will conversation, because when you see, well, there's no separate entity here to even have free will or have control, it just is another way in, and it gets even more obvious. So, little rambly, but you just asked for more of my thoughts, so you got them. I hope that's helpful, Natasha. Thanks for sending your question. You guys can send your questions to askamy@thelittleschoolbigchange.com, and I will see you guys soon. Have a good day.